And I'm Michelli Martin. Good morning. A Republican running for governor of Georgia faced a roadblock in Savannah on Sunday. Literally, you guys. A search for answers in a fire that left 2 adults and a 6-year-old boy dead. It happened around 3 Saturday morning in the 1800 block of Clark Road. Happening right now after months of waiting and anticipating. The big day is finally here and the entire world is tuning in to watch as Prince Harry and American actress Meghan Markle say "I do." Louisiana senators are looking to protect nursing home residents. The Senate Finance Committee took their turn at crafting next year's budget. Now to that scary close call, a group of teenage girls pulling up to one of their homes when they saw 2 men lurking outside. Those men opening fire on their car. ABC's Ariel Reshef has that story. Back here at home, you could hear more noise coming from Barksdale Air Force Base this week. That's because base officials are conducting a bird and animal strike hazard operation. So exactly what does that mean? Well, they want to deter animals that could pose a safety hazard on the flight line. To the crime beat, police in Laplace, Louisiana are searching for the killer of a 4-year-old girl. It happened last night around 9 p.m. at an apartment complex on Joe Parquet Circle. A man was also wounded in that shooting. He was airlifted to University Medical Center in New Orleans. Outburst in the Caddo District Court today as the man dubbed the Facebook Slayer heard some of the evidence against him. A detective was testifying about the murder of Renita Williams, whose slaying was streamed live on Facebook. As the detective described the shooting, family members of Williams left the courtroom in tears. Accused killer Jonathan Robinson, you're looking at him right there, began to struggle in his chair before toppling over backwards. This recent tragedy has a lot of people asking, would you know what to do if you ever encountered an active shooter? The Marshall Police Department hopes to prepare anyone for this kind of situation. They'll be hosting a civilian response to active shooter incidents training. That class is going to be held next month. Hey, we've got more now on today's top story. It's viewed as the latest sign that the U.S. and North Korea are on the brink of establishing a historic diplomatic relationship. 3 American citizens detained for years in North Korea are now on their way home. They said that they found the baby along Breda Avenue after a fire was reported near the railroad tracks. I can actually see where the police are actually looking. They have a little bit of crime scene tape set up, and they actually have a couple of K9 officers out there searching as well. What I can tell you is that I've gone inside the Shreveport Police Department. I got a copy of that major incident report, and what it's telling us is that a black male was standing in the front yard at that residence at 3058 Gordonia, and he was shot multiple times in his upper torso. What I can tell you that it was a very busy night for Shreveport police. Let's talk about that first shooting. We're right here on the 4900 block of Jewella, next to that Stop and Shop where it all went down. I wanted to show you just how heavy, how much stuff these men and women have to put on, and we're going to walk over to training officer Robert Taggart, and we're doing this on purpose so you can see just how difficult this process is. If you find yourself out here on the water, you're trying to have a great time, and maybe you notice people not acting appropriately, can they call you?
Yes, we'll be out here. We'll have a presence out here on the waterfront.
Right, the pain at the pump is extremely real. Some of us are already feeling it, especially if you drive maybe one of those big soccer mom type vehicles, an SUV, a minivan, something like that. And so gas prices across the country are up, and it's all thanks to us, to people. The national average is $2.81 a gallon, and that's according to AAA. You can see this is the prime type of location where people may be rolling down the roads, flick out a cigarette, but not thinking about how dangerous that decision is, obviously not just for their health, but for our environment and for fire safety. The important thing to know about life jackets is that they come in different sizes, and it's important to make sure that you have the right size for your child.
Louisiana lawmakers are trying to make up for a nearly $1 billion budget shortfall, and they've set their sights on gutting TOPS funding, something that's left students gasping for air.
They were not expecting, that to ever happen, and so now there's an uncertainty every year about whether they're going to receive it or not, and it's a big stressor for them.
Tracy Hagar is a high school counselor. She pushes her students to look for other funding sources.
I really encourage them to go ahead and get that completed, and that maybe they might could get some grants awarded to them, and if not, then they may need to start looking at student loans.
The uncertainty around how TOPS will be funded is pushing students who would stay in state to consider schools out of state.
They will offer our students, the out-of-state tuition, they'll exempt them from that. And so that kind of makes up the money, and it lures them a little bit more to go to their school if they don't have to pay that out-of-state fee.
Hagar hopes lawmakers can find a different way to save on the state budget.
It's an investment in our children, and it's an investment for us to keep them in our state and in our communities.
Which toy do you want? You want this toy or that toy?
5-year-old LaDasia has spent almost half her life in foster care, 20 months to be exact.
She deserves a loving family, just like all the other children.
LaDasia's foster mother, Elaine Spivey, says she's a real live miracle.
She's come so far in 20 months. It's been unreal. She's learned how to sit up. She actually can repeat back a few words now.
LaDasia has Miller-Decker syndrome. It's also known as smooth brain disorder. Typically, the brain is covered in grooves and ridges, but people with Miller-Decker don't have those grooves. Miller-Decker can cause severe intellectual disability, developmental delays, and feeding difficulties.
When we first got her, they really told us that she would never be able to do anything and that she would get worse instead of better. And we've actually found that her brain has been trainable in a lot of ways.
LaDasia has beaten a lot of the odds, and in a lot of ways, she's just like your typical 5-year-old.
She loves to have her music. She loves being around the other kids. She loves watching the other kids and aggravating her sister. So.
Elaine says she wants to keep LaDasia with her forever, but she considers herself too old to adopt, so she's asking the Architects to open up their hearts and their homes.
I just want everybody to know how loving LaDasia is and how much she deserves a family.